All right. I think I have everything I need right now. All right. Yeah. I'm not turning the fan off. I actually don't know if you guys can hear it because this microphone is pretty good at eliminating. It's pretty centered in like what it picks up. I remember a microphone. The microphone I used for years was the Blue Yeti Pro, I think. And like it picked up everything. So like you could hear everything in the room when I would use it, and like that was frustrating, especially for editing. So what I would do is I would like turn everything off in my room except like my computer, and even then like I would do my best to make sure like my computer made as little noise as possible to record audio. And then I got another mic, and that just wasn't necessary anymore. So maybe you can hear a little bit of the fan, but it's probably not that much, or maybe it isn't. I don't know, man. It's weird. Microphones are weird. Anyway, so I have never been cutting it this close when it comes to a tier list video. In fact, it's usually the opposite. I don't remember when I filmed the first two, the Island in Action ones. I think it was pretty far beforehand. Um, the World Tour one, I'm pretty sure I recorded a few weeks, like a month or two ahead of time. The Revenge one, I recorded a month ahead of time, and the video is supposed to the real All Stars video is supposed to premiere in 6 hours. So, so it's I'm on a time frame here. I guess I probably could. I mean, maybe I didn't actually end up premiering the video at 8 o'clock tonight because I've had to like re-export the video like 4 times in the last 24 hours, and exporting the video and uploading it is like a 6 hour endeavor. A few of those I had to like cancel beforehand when I realized a new error, because this is such a long video and there are so many tiny little things that like drove me crazy. And earlier today I was checking the video in it because I exported it again overnight. And for some reason, one of the episode reviews, I don't remember doing this. I think I just like maybe clicked the switch when I was trying to like see something specific in the video. I turned off the layer, like one of the layers in the timeline for one of the sequences for like for like the entire thing. So there's a bunch of like times where something's supposed to be there, but it's nothing. So you'll see like empty space, just empty space, because I put a little visual element on that layer, but for some reason I turned the layer off. And that drove me insane this morning seeing that. Oh my gosh. Okay, anyway, so I'm here for the tier list. So, actually, I haven't really titled them like the individual tiers. Let me do that real quick. Okay. Okay, I've got it all rated. All right, or like got the list things up. Let me pull up my notes. Okay, so let me see which one I should do first. Let's do the simple ones first. I would say Lightning's good. Um, and I think, because I'm pretty sure last year I gave him pretty great. The only real reason I'm giving him good here is that I don't think he's particularly spectacular or does anything that much better than like last season. I think for what it's worth, I say it in the video, Joe and Lightning are probably some of the least damaged characters in this season, which is nice. And I think I only really want to give Lightning good instead of great, even though I think last season at least he was a great character, mostly because he's out so early and there's not much focus on him. But there's like a couple laughs. I think like they didn't fumble him as much as they did other characters. I'm gonna leave Lightning in good for now. I think it's just like, he didn't. There's no derailment or anything with Lightning. I just don't really think like he did anything super out of the ordinary or really played much of a role, so for me to really say that I really liked him this season. But going kind of like another character that kind of goes hand in hand with Lightning is Joe, and I would argue I think I like her a lot more than Lightning. And I think a big part of it is because she gets to play off of the original cast in a way that Lightning doesn't, for one. I think also she's generally funnier. It's probably more so the first thing, because I'm thinking about like what I like about Joe. I'm picturing that in my head in All Stars, and I really, really enjoyed, or as much maybe really enjoyed, because when I say I really enjoy something in All Stars, it doesn't mean the same kind of thing as when I say I really enjoyed something in Island. I'm being a little bit more generous to All Stars, I think. But I think that Joe and Heather's back and forth is very fun. Although Joe didn't stay that long, I think that, it could have been so much worse. I think she's there as long as she needs to be. She's there long enough that, like, I enjoyed her time. I think of her as, like, playing a fun role in this season, even if it wasn't a super big one. Special like shout out to the line where Joe admits that she regrets kind of kicking out Lightning so early, and then Lightning gets like slung down on an iPad making fun of her because apparently he left that in advance just in case Joe would like try and get him out of the game early, which is fun. That's a good bit. But yeah, no, I think Joe is probably, it's about as, like even in the third tier, Joe's probably one of the best characters in the season. And, I don't really have much to say, and I think a big part of that is just because in some ways, a lot of these characters, like the higher end characters in this season, kind of win by default. Because it's not like Joe has like a gripping, amazing character arc this season. She's just kind of like some good fun for a few episodes, and then she kind of gets kicked off pretty early. Anyway, yeah, never mind. I thought these were going to be like the easy ones, but I feel like because there's like so little to say, but also a lot I kind of need to say, it's very wishy-washy in a way that I kind of hoped it wouldn't be. But yeah, fuck. This is more stressful than I thought it would be. There's so many elements to like approach All Stars with, and I'm trying to think of like the best way to keep it cut and dry, but it's kind of hard to. Okay, here's a simple one. Lindsay's insufferable. Like, maybe that's harsh, but like when you watch Lindsay in this, I mean, she's only there for one episode. It's so hard not to compare her to every season before this. Every time she's been in it. Even in like the seasons where she's not like that big of a deal, like World Tour. Like she's still great in World Tour. I think so. Like, I mean, the Tyler thing where she forgets Tyler is silly, but I would still argue like Lindsay's fun there. And if I ever said she wasn't, I think I was just coddled by my by not having to like deal with All Stars to the extent I've now had to deal with All Stars. Lindsay's fun to root for. And I think one of the best things about her is that, there's always a little bit more to her than just being a dumb blonde. And what I mean by that is that, like, she's shown resolve throughout the show. I mean, genuinely, I would still say, like, one of the top 5 best moments in the entire show is when she finally blows up at Heather. Like, even with as much as like, stupid and kind of contrived as it was with, like, because she technically past the finish line, she lost or whatever. That's stupid, and Island has a lot of stupid eliminations like that, but I feel like Island's character writing is just good enough or like really fun that it's so easy for me to forgive. Anyway, the point I'm making is that Lindsay has been treated well for like a long period of time. I think she was fine in World Tour, as I said, but here it's like you see her and okay, she's stupider than she used to be. Like, I mean, and that's already just kind of like disappointing to see. Like Lindsay, I think is a character that's been built up really well and iterated on great. Like, I think she was iterated on. It's the best way I put it. Really well for the first 3 seasons, and like she just crashes and burns here. Maybe that's a dramatic way of putting it because she's so like touch and go. She's in and out so fast, but like every joke about her is just how stupid she is. And listen, Lindsay's stupid. I mean, that's kind of part of the charm of her, but she's not like cute stupid here or funny stupid. It's just like her being terrible. And I remember like how disappointing it is, that confessional where she basically just gives up. She's like, oh, this is harder than I thought. Never mind. I don't like Total Drama anymore. And I think she's like excited when she gets like booted. And it's just, I don't know, man. Like, there's so many things I hate about 13 episode seasons because I feel like if this was a longer season, even if she was the first boot, even if she was like Elim fodder, I feel like they could have, done more with her. Like Joe and Lightning are still Elim fodder in this season. Elim fodder, is that how you pronounce it? They're still Elim fodder, but I feel like they're still, themselves in a way that I can like, look past it. I mean, every season's going to have Elim fodder by definition, but in Lindsay here, it's just, just seeing her like give up and say that Total Drama's too hard. She's not funny here. It's just everything goes wrong, and I'm mad about it. I'm mad about it. Maybe that's why I'm giving it insufferable, because I mean, she's not making me cringe. That's what I've always thought about with like the insufferable characters, where it just kind of like gives me, I hate the word cringe, but it's like uncomfortable, like how unpleasant it is to watch her. Sometimes I feel like that's what insufferable should be, but I think Lindsay is such a like is just done so dirty in this season that I feel like she's got to be the first insufferable. Maybe I'm being too harsh, but I don't know, man. It just sucks to see like how little they do with her, and everything they do with her just kind of makes her feel worse as a character. It just sucks. It sucks. Okay. Actually, I'm probably going to go in order of elimination because I've already got the first 3 down here. Or at least the next thing I'm going to do is Sam. I think I'm going to give him decent, inoffensive, or whatever. And I was thinking of unlikable, but I think a lot of like me saying Sam is unlikable in this season is more about just him being in the season in the first place. Because I think he's such kind of a stupid decision to have here. I mean, there's all the theories like him being like kind of like shoehorned in instead of Owen or whatever. But all things considered, I think he doesn't really do much that's like very bothersome to me, other than kind of take a theoretical slot that I feel like could have been better spent on another character. And I will say one thing I like about Sam is that the stupid gamer stuff isn't as grating this season. I just said that. And I kind of imagined a pot shot for myself when I just said that. I think a big part of, because I mean, in season 4, like it's always bothered me, the whole gamer thing. I've always thought it was so written by Gen Xers who didn't really grow up with video games, so it's all kind of like one blob to them. So it's just kind of like super turbo action extra like game. It's such a stupid kind of like stereotype for gamers that doesn't really feel passionate. It just feels very out of touch. That's one good thing. I said that in the last video. I'm kind of glad that 5 years after, like in the years after Revenge of the Island, like millennials or people who grew up playing video games started working on TV shows, because the gamer representation, I'm saying representation because that's literally, I guess, the way to describe it, even though like better gamer representation is kind of a funny concept. But I think generally like the references to video games just got a lot better once like in 2015 as opposed to 2012. It just got way better because everyone was a little bit older and younger people started working on TV shows. That's a tangent. But anyway, that has nothing to do with Sam. I feel like a lot of the annoying things about Sam aren't that annoying this season because the whole time he's just like spent being a victim of slapstick. But all in all, I think he's like not super important one way or another. I think he's just kind of like he doesn't add or take much away in terms of how he's written. The only thing I really complain about when it comes to Sam is just the fact that I think he's just where he shouldn't be. So I'm gonna go easy on him, say he's decent / inoffensive. And good, decent, inoffensive. And actually a character that I was kind of stuck on because there's a lot of things I like about her in this season is Heather. But I really cannot give her anything above decent or good or whatever. And the reason is because everything, like the way I wrote down in my notes is that the broad strokes decisions for Heather and by extension Alejandro, spoiler alert, are pretty good. I would dare say great. But I can't really justify putting Heather above good or decent or whatever. And the reason is because even though I think that like if you describe Heather's experience or kind of like arc in this season in like 2 or 3 sentences, it's a pretty good arc, at least in my opinion. I like it. I like it in the big picture. I mean, she kind of was stupid the way she got eliminated, but I mean, that's not really like a deal breaker for me. The only reason I don't want to put her in pretty great, because Heather is one of my favorite characters in the show. I think she's, God, every time I think I like revisit World Tour, I find myself just loving Heather even more. It's just like, it's one of the, I think Heather has had one of the best, it's just one of the best characters in the show's history, frankly. And the reason I don't want to put her in pretty great is because even though I think, like, a returning, I think like she stays a good amount. I like her stuff with Alejandro. I just think the quality of her dialogue takes a big dip after World Tour. I don't really care much for her in Revenge of the Island, in her cameo, at least in terms of like the minute things she says. Oh, sorry, I don't speak to losers. It's like, okay. That's the best you got, Heather? Come on. I think I think in general, like, Heather is just kind of watered down this season in a way that's not, there are much worse examples of characters being worse this season than previous seasons, but I think Heather is, like, noticeably not as entertaining in this season as she is in previous seasons, that I don't want to call her great, because I don't really think she was done that great in terms of, like, the nitty-gritty. And that basically applies to Alejandro as well. I think Alejandro, I think he's nerfed a little bit, but that's not really the big issue for me. I think it's more so just, like, he's not as kind of clever as he used to feel, I think. And I don't think he really does anything spectacular in this season. So I don't really feel like I could call him great. Okay. I'm going to skip Sierra because I'm still not sure where I want to put her. Okay, the next two... Okay, every other character is, like, kind of hard to talk about because... Okay, here's one character that I'll like, call decent. I'll call Gwen decent. And the way I described it in the video is that, like, even though Gwen... there's a lot of shitty things that happen to Gwen in this season, I feel like everything that sucks that happens with Gwen happens around her. You know what I mean? Like, in the sense of, like, the Courtney is the real kind of issue in this season, and Duncan too. Duncan's okay. Yeah, never mind. I'm pretty sure where I want to put Duncan now, just because of, like, it's hard. It's hard to it's hard to, like, watch this show and, like, feel like watch this season. I mean, and feel like Gwen is the one causing the problems, if that makes sense. Maybe it doesn't make sense. I just think that. I think the best way I put it best in the video, the stupid character arcs happen around her. She's still a part of them, but I think that, like, between Gwen and Courtney, I think Courtney's the problem character, and between Gwen and Duncan, Duncan's the problem character. I think one of my big complaints, though, with Gwen in this season is that I think she's a little bit just kind of, like, excuse my vulgarity, she's kind of bitch-made this season. And I don't know, I mean, like, she's just... She's kind of just trying to do this why can't everyone get along thing. And I feel like Gwen has a little bit more charisma than that, but she's just kind of moping the entire season. Even when I feel like I wish she was held together a little bit better this season. It's not a big deal to me. I know some people who really dislike how Gwen's portrayed this season. And you can even argue it's character growth. I've heard people make that argument that, like, the fact that she's so kind of wanting everyone to kind of just work together in this season is kind of like an example of how she's not as misanthropic as she used to be. But I don't know, man. She's just not that standout here. And I think that's that. I feel it when I say that more than anything else. She's just not, like, doing anything of note this season. That, like, the only thing that she does in this season that, like, outwardly makes me unhappy is when she says that she and that Courtney and Duncan weren't dating when he kissed her. And it's like, but the thing is, that's the bad writing there is so bad. I can't be mad at Gwen as a character. I'm mad at the writers. You know what I mean? Because that is such a misunderstanding of season 3 and its drama that, like, it just, I think I don't blame people for being driven crazy by that line. It drives me a little crazy too, because especially because one of the things, actually, never mind. I don't want to find myself trying to argue about the ethics of cheating, because that's not really, like, the point I'm trying to make. The point I'm trying to make is that, like, what is the point? This is rambly. I don't even want to, like, clean this up. I think this is as good as it's gonna get, because they get so many basic facts wrong in this season about the breakup in World Tour. It's hard to, like, hold it against Gwen as a character for me. That's the best way I can put it. I don't really know if there's like a better way I can elaborate on that without kind of like being myself in terms of how I like kind of write and kind of tiptoe around shit. Anyway, all right. Scott, I was thinking good, but I'm gonna give him pretty great. The only reason is that I think that, a friend of mine, another creator, I don't want to like name him. Maybe I should. Actually, no. I was talking about this with Voice Under the Covers. Who's a pretty good creator. I recommend anyone who likes total drama and really likes kind of, frankly, wordy analysis about the show. I think he does really great stuff. But he dislikes Scott in this season a lot more than I do. The thing is, Scott is kind of like really shifted in the way his personality is written in this season, like without a doubt. He's an idiot in this season, more so than he is in last season. Because last season, like everything he did was like the work of an idiot, but the show treated him like he was smart. Kind of like how they do Mal this season. But this season kind of like just because there's so many other villains, I think they just kind of like try and treat Scott as playful. They kind of just treat him kind of just like don't take him that seriously, and he becomes like a lovable idiot character. And I think like I'm trying to think like of the characters that actually stick around this season, I think Scott is like by far the funniest. Just because I think to like his arguments with Courtney in the Zeke and Ye Shall Find episode, and I think I just love the like shoelace making me crazy line. It's just it's playful, dumb fun. Even Sunday Muddy Sunday, like I think Scott's my favorite character in that episode because like he's not even mad that Courtney is like trying to backstab him. He's mad that he draws her as a rat. Like, that she draws him as a rat. And I think that's like, it's like the eye of the storm of that episode to me, just because it's like, it's just, they're just not taking it seriously with Scott in a way that's kind of refreshing. I don't know how to describe it. I just think Scott is like pretty funny this season, as funny as this season really gets. I guess I understand the criticism that I think he is flanderized. I mean, he's an idiot in this season. I don't think he was supposed to be an idiot last season. But whatever, man. He can eat the dirt. Okay, Cameron. This is going to be controversial because it's like Cameron could be a good, decent, inoffensive character, maybe even great if I'm in a good mood. But just because of the way he interacts with Mike and Mal, it just makes this season, because everything, I say this, everything about All-Star's story is predicated on Mal being seen as a good villain, a good liar when he's not. Like everything he does to Cameron, everything he says to Cameron is crazy. It's bonkers. And Cameron believes it no matter what. Cameron's socially awkward or too trusting or whatever, but so much of Cameron in this season is just being pushed around by Mike, and it just makes him kind of feel stupid as a character. And because of that, I just don't think they did a good job with him. And the thing is, I think Cameron and Zoe are very, like, safe. At least last season, they're very safe, at least for me, likable characters. I mean, they don't steal the show. But I think, like, because they're nice, because they're not, like, crazy, I think they normally kind of just keep things pleasant. I think Cameron is generally just a safe character. I think he's likable enough that I think he's always decently fun to see on screen. But because of just him being so central to Mike's plot and him having to be so stupid, just like in order to function, for the plot to function, frankly, it just makes him insufferable. Not insufferable, I guess, because it's not like he's driving me crazy. Well, maybe he is driving me crazy. I don't think it's just like a total like failure of a character arc. Just because most of my complaints are more directed towards Mike. But just I think he's bogged down by Mike. I guess that's the best way of putting it, and that applies to Zoe too. I was considering putting Zoe in insufferable, but honestly, that's me being, I think, a little bit meaner than I need to be. Because pretty much my complaints with Zoe kind of start and end with her just being like oblivious when she really shouldn't be. just because, I mean, I think, maybe if they pace the season differently, it would be more forgivable. But, you kind of see Cameron and Zoe figure everything out in like the 6th episode or the 7th episode. And then they just kind of like forget it. And it's just not, it just doesn't really work narratively for me, that it's hard to just kind of forgive it, I guess. I don't know. It's just the only thing I can think about with Zoe in this season is that she's stupid. And the only thing that makes her stupid is the fact that she's too dumb to tell that Mal is Mal. And Scott's stupid as well, but Scott's stupid in an entertaining way. Zoe's stupid in a way that it makes the entire plot of this season, just kind of like an eye roller, to me at least. Okay, wow. There's so many ways to discuss this season, at least for me, because I think that part of me when I was writing this video, and I didn't write this, I just took down very basic notes. I wanted to kind of like voice my criticisms without, but also keep them very clear and concrete in a way, just to kind of eliminate kind of falling into the trap of just going at this season with like a kind of vitriol that I don't really want to go at it with. I kind of want to be somewhat constructive. So every time I feel like there's like so many ways to kind of talk about how Zoe is, written in this season and how it kind of makes her seem worse as a character. But I don't know. I always end up talking in circles because there's like, oh, she's stupid, but Scott's also stupid. I think the big thing that just makes Zoe and Cameron unlikable is that they're just not entertaining enough for like any of their stupidity to be forgiven by me. I guess that's the best way of putting it. Okay. Oh God. All right. Courtney's insufferable. I was considering unlikable because here's the thing. Up until episode 10, like they had a lot of good things going with Courtney. I genuinely think that I'm finding myself liking Scott and Courtney more than I've ever done. More than ever when I was like after having binged this season more times than I care to admit. I think it's cute. It reminds me a lot of the initial like Duncan-y stuff because I think Courtney is a lot more tempered in this season than she used to be, or than she was in seasons 2 and 3, and there's a lot to like about that. And then episode 11 happens, or even episode 10, she gets kind of like weirdly neurotic in a way that's kind of just, really? It sucks seeing it happen. And then episode 11, they just kind of, Courtney just, everything we've been kind of like doing with Courtney, we're throwing it out of the way because she's excited enough to be in the final 5 that she's willing to like betray all her friends with a list. A list which is like the simplest plan ever that she really would not benefit from writing down. And it's just like, also, yeah, no, she's made it past the final 5 before. That part drives me nuts. It's just like, are you serious? I mean, that is such an insane like plot point to get wrong, especially when they're trying to use her just being excited about being that far as an excuse to kind of make her burn every bridge. It's not fun to watch. It's frustrating. And I think that giving her anything but insufferable isn't like, Frank, it's not giving Sunday Muddy Sunday the accolades for being like such a failure of an episode, just narratively, like how it's written, that I think it deserves. I feel like Sunday Muddy Sunday, I almost respect it for how many ways it like messes things up, that I feel like I almost would feel guilty not giving Courtney insufferable. I feel like Sunday Muddy Sunday deserves that kind of hatred in a loving way. I'm talking like a crazy person. Okay. Oh my God. Duncan, I'm gonna give unlikable. I'm gonna be a little bit generous, mostly because like he's not driving me nuts a lot of the time. Well, actually he is, but I don't think he strikes out like in the way Lindsay does, and I don't think he just like is irredeemable. I don't know, but I don't think he's just totally ruined in the way Courtney is. Like I think there's a lot that Duncan still has that could easily be kind of rectified, I guess. And the thing is, his derailment in this season is so like unserious. The kind of good guy stuff, I kind of hate it, but it's like hard to be really it's hard for me to like treat it with the same dislike as I do like Courtney and Sunday Muddy Sunday or Mal even. Just because it's like it's just a mostly harmless but still unfunny like just like gag that just leaves you wanting more, but it doesn't like drive me nuts, I guess. I don't know how to describe it, man. So I'm gonna be a little bit generous. Part of me wants to go insufferable because I dislike how I feel like no one really knows what they want Duncan's like mission statement to be in this season. Because like sometimes he really likes Gwen. Sometimes he seems to want something back with Courtney, and it doesn't add up really, or it's not explored. Like if they wanted to explore that as a plot point, like him being kind of like torn between them, they definitely could have done something. I'm not the way I say that out loud. Like you could easily make a compelling plot line about Duncan kind of like not being sure what he wants from, or if he wants Gwen or Courtney. I mean, you can argue that's kind of a thing that's explored in the past. They've gotten decent content out of it, even when, you know, I'm not exactly thrilled about Duncan kissing Gwen. I feel like there's still a lot that's done right there. A lot that isn't done right, though. But I think... it's just... Duncan is such an unserious character in this season. I don't want to give him insufferable. It's just... I just want to hand wave it away and stop thinking about it. It's so hard to like describe the difference, like degrees of dislike or hatred. It's like, oh, I only strongly dislike this character, not I don't hate them. It's hard to like make my criteria for that concrete. And I say that as if like any of this is concrete in the first place. It's not. Okay, I want to give Mike insufferable. But here's the reason I'm not sure. And I think the reason is that if Mike and Mal were separate characters here, I would probably give Mike unlikable and Mal insufferable. I'm gonna but I guess I'll balance it out to like unlikable because Mal is like the stupidest villain in the show thus far. It's just I've said, you know, I mean, it's not like I don't give Mal a lot of attention in the video. I'm not gonna like I'm not gonna mince words here. You can see it in the video. It's a frankly atrociously done character like plot, even without like any of like the discussion about the ethics of how dissociative identity disorder should or shouldn't be portrayed in fiction. I don't even want to talk about that rabbit hole. It's just it's such a badly. Part of me wants to say it's lazy, but they put a lot of effort into it. But it's lazy and all the time, like it's still lazy in the way that they kind of like hand wave a lot of like parts of it in a way that's just not entertaining. I don't know. So, and then also like, I mean, there's a lot that's contrived for Mike to like not be aware of a lot of this. That's just drives me crazy. I keep saying that. There's a lot of things in this, like this, I keep saying drive me crazy because that's like what's kind of, tearing me between unlikable and insufferable. I'm gonna be nice, because I think, you know, Mike, Zoe, and Cameron do have a base charm that, you know, at the end of this season, even after all the bull crap, it's like, okay, Mike and Zoe kiss, they smile, it's cute. It's cute enough for me that I don't want to call them insufferable. But I mean, it is not a well done character arc between the three of these. It's just the three of them. It's, you know, there's just so much that goes wrong. And so much of it is like, it's a plot that's held together with like boogers. You know, do you know that, like, I'm trying to remember that. I'm forgetting the details. And in Diary of a Wimpy Kid, there's like Manny has like this old blanket that's almost entirely like ripped to shreds, and it's held together. I think they literally say boogers, like just like disgusting. It's that is what the Mal plot is held together by. Like insane contrivances, just very sloppy writing. And it's not entertaining enough for me to really forgive that. I always like to make that point because there are contrivances in season 1 with Heather, but Heather is just entertaining enough that I can always look past it. And at the end of the day, I guess for me, being entertaining is more important than anything else. Because I don't know, there's a lot of shoehorn things that happen in seasons I like that the show's funny and like fun enough to watch that I can kind of like forgive it, I guess. And we're finally with Sierra. Sierra's fun to hate in this season, and that's why I kind of want to give her Insufferable. But I think like there's a certain drama to saying that I don't know if she really deserves it, because there are things about Sierra here. If I really try to pretend she's that much worse than like World Tour, that's just me being a World Tour fanboy. But I just don't think that her imprinting on Cameron, I hate that. I kind of hate that for a couple of reasons. I feel like I've always loved, I guess the way I'll put it is that I liked how I thought it was entertaining how obsessed she was with the show, and how obsessed she was with Cody, how much she was just in love with Cody, and she seemed to know everything about Cody. That's a running joke. She knows the Stalkerlicious. She knows like all these stupid things about these characters. And if I was to pretend that her being obsessed with Cody, the bits and pieces about it weren't like weren't kind of like were somehow that different from World Tour, I would be lying. I don't think that's really true. I just think her imprinting on Cameron disappoints me, because I feel like it makes what she feels for Cody seem a lot more superficial. And I guess when I say that, that makes me sound like I feel like Sierra has a healthy attraction to Cody, when she doesn't. That's obvious. She obviously doesn't. But I feel like there's a love she has for Cody that when they try and pretend that like she can have the same thing for Cameron, it makes me sad. It makes me a little bit sad. Though that's very switchy, being obsessed with like Sierra and C. Because I mean, here's the thing, Sierra's voice actress is so good at what she does, that even like in this season, like there are bits where I think like, because I mean, there's a line in this season that I genuinely thought was great, and it's with when Sierra is like, she can't be with Cameron, so she asks Duncan if she can hang out with him and call him Cody. And I found that funny. I think it's probably like genuinely just, I think because it's kind of unhinged. Like that's one of my favorite lines in the season, just because of like, from comedy wise, I would say. But that being said, I think I don't know. I think that like she's kind of a dead end character. Unless you wanted to kind of, if you wanted to keep her being crazy and obsessive, like I don't know how you could really continue that. Maybe you could have, but I don't know. Her without Cody is stupid, and I don't like her being obsessed with Cameron. It's like season 3 Sierra had more standards than just being skinny and short. Okay, I will live and die by that. Yeah. So I'm gonna give her unlikable. I'm gonna go a little generous because in the video, I kind of like show myself being annoyed at certain things that she says, but it's more so just because of the Cameron stuff, not so much how she's actually written. Yeah. I think also, like, similar to Sam, I don't think, Sierra did make it to the Final Four in World Tour, but I just, when you realize that Duncan is the only actual, like, original male competitor in this season, because Alejandro was a season 3 edition and Sierra was a season 3 edition. We have seven Gen 1 characters, and 2 of them are from like World Tour, the editions in World Tour. But that means we only really get 5 characters from the original 22 in our All-Star season. And it's just like, I'm not breaking new ground by complaining about that. Anyway, so yes, this is the tier list video. It's a lot more wordy than it used to be, just because I feel like All-Stars, there are so many ways you can talk about All-Stars that I'm never really sure where to start and where to stop. But I think this is a decent enough tier list. Frankly, the only reason I'm so unsure in this video is because, there's just... I'm trying to, like, eliminate my, like, very I'm trying to kind of separate my very visceral, I don't like this criticisms that are very much about like, just kind of like the emotional attachment I have with some characters from like my I don't think this was well done. I think they should have done this differently criticisms, like my whiny fanboy criticisms and my wannabe like critic criticisms. I want to kind of like separate those, and it's hard to do that sometimes because I am well aware that I am not an unbiased person. No one is, and it frustrates me sometimes. But anyway, no fantastic characters, no best of the best characters. That's not even like a question. I'm pretty nice to Joe and Scott in this season, but frankly, I'm just very they're like they're the oasis in the desert, I guess. That's the way I'll describe it. The light at the end of the tunnel, something like that. So most of the characters here, I think, really do get done pretty dirty. But I think pretty much the B and C tiers or whatever, they do enough that I'm not super bothered by them. I think they kind of like fulfill their role, and I think everything below that is a character that I think really was let down by the writers in this season. I don't want to say it that way. One thing I really dislike, and I'm not above it, is when people kind of insult the writers of this show in sometimes a personal way. And there are instances where I kind of do it. I don't want to even say the names because I feel bad, because there have been like memes I've seen in the fandom where people like target individual writers and kind of like say they hate that writer personally. And that's always that's just something I really don't want to do. I feel like that's me pretending I know how this show is made behind the scenes more than I actually do. And it's me kind of like assigning a certain amount of like vitriol or hatred to someone that I don't know. And it doesn't feel right to do that. Forgive me for soapboxing, but yeah, so I'm being wordy, but I think people generally like wordy. Maybe I'm wrong. So hopefully, this wasn't too like loaded and circular, but it was kind of loaded and circular. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for watching the main video. Yeah, All Stars is messy. I think that's the best way of putting it. It's hard to keep any talk about All Stars simple. And that's why the video is as long as it is. I mean, 4 hours. I didn't expect it to go over 2 hours. And then I kind of wrote the first episode review. And I noticed that video episode review was longer than the finale review for Revenge of the Island. And I realized, okay, this is going to be a heavy video. And I wasn't sure if it was going to beat 4 hours, but it did narrowly. But even now, I feel like there's still so many ways I can talk about All Stars. Just because I think it's such a, there's so many ways you can address the way it's written, the way it disappoints, what they could have done differently. I mean, that's a big part of it. I mean, I feel like there's so much potential this season has that it doesn't live up to, that it crashes and burns as opposed to living up to. So, I mean, I could probably keep talking about this. I mean, right now, without editing, I'll probably take a couple minutes out of like silences and stuff, or me being a very bad improvisational orator. So it might not get this long. I've been recording for 46 minutes. I have to like nip myself in the bud. Well, not the bud. I mean, I'm very much a beautiful flower at this point. But yes. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you everyone who stuck through with me. I mean, this is the largest project I've ever done by far. Seriously. Like I was telling this, and this is me kind of tooting my own horn. I try not to fetishize, like my work process as much as like too much, even though I definitely do it. I told someone, I'm like, this video probably took 10 times as much time and effort as the Island video, just because of how much more careful I was with writing, how much more in-depth I was with editing, that alone. And the funny thing is that I'm also a much more efficient editor. I do a lot of things faster now than I did back then. But still, I mean, I was working on this video several hours a day, for 5-6 months. So, usually I finished the World Tour video in the beginning of June. I think I started editing that in May. So I edited that in a month. This video was edited in like 2.5 months. and it's 30 minutes longer, but I'm also way more careful and meticulous with how I edit. I used to just kind of like slap on footage and stop thinking about it. Sometimes I wish I didn't care as much sometimes I wish I would go a little easier on myself, but I don't know. Okay. I'm going to stop pretending that I have the hardest job in the world. I'm a stupid internet complainer. Thank you for watching. I'm out.